Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they mistake movement for achievement. They fill their days with tasks, their calendars with meetings, their minds with noise, but their bank accounts stay the same. Productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. The wealthy understand this truth. Success is never about how much energy you spend, but how intelligently you direct it. The poor chase effort. The wealthy design systems. And that's the shift I want to talk about today, how to turn your labor into leverage and your time into transformation. We've all been told since childhood, work hard and you'll be successful. But have you ever noticed some of the hardest working people in the world are also the ones who struggle the most? Meanwhile, others seem to move through life gracefully, multiplying results with half the effort. So, what's the difference? It's not luck, it's leverage. It's not hours, it's understanding. Working harder might make you a living, but working smarter can make you a fortune. The secret is not to work for time, it's to make time work for you. When I was young, I thought the key to success was effort. I believed that if I just worked harder than everyone else, longer hours, more sweat, less rest, I'd naturally rise to the top. But here's what I learned the hard way. Hard work alone isn't the secret. You can run full speed in the wrong direction and still end up lost. The truth is, effort without direction is wasted energy. You see, it's not how much you do that counts, it's what you do, and more importantly, why you're doing it. I remember the first time I realized this truth. I was busy, but I wasn't productive. I'd wake up early, fill my days with activity, and fall asleep exhausted, feeling proud that I'd worked hard, but my results didn't change. I was moving, but not advancing. It was like being on a treadmill. Lots of motion, no progress. Then one day, I met a man who had achieved everything I wanted. Time freedom, financial stability, peace of mind. And he said something that changed my life. Don't just work harder on your job, work harder on your direction. That struck me. Because for the first time, I realized that I was busy doing, but I hadn't stopped to decide where I was going. Most people confuse busyness with achievement. They fill their calendars, but not their goals. They chase every task that shouts for attention, but they ignore the few things that actually move the needle forward. That's the tragedy of effort. Without clarity, it gives you the illusion of progress while keeping you trapped in the same cycle. And that's why I say, never let activity replace accomplishment. You must pause often enough to ask yourself, is what I'm doing moving me closer to freedom, or am I just maintaining motion? Now, direction doesn't come from wishful thinking, it comes from priorities. You can't do everything, but you can do what matters. Every week, define 3 key priorities that directly tie to your long-term vision. Maybe it's saving a portion of your income, learning a new skill, or investing in an opportunity that compounds your time and effort. Whatever it is, make sure those priorities serve your freedom, not just your routine. Because every time you say yes to something trivial, you're saying no to something transformational. I once met a man who said, I've been working the same job for 25 years. I said, no, you've worked 1 year 25 times. That's the difference between motion and progress. One builds exhaustion, the other builds freedom. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what counts. Direction is what turns effort into achievement. So, my advice is simple. Stop glorifying busyness. Sit down with your thoughts, draw your map, and align your energy with your vision. Don't just adjust your work, adjust your sails. Because effort is only powerful when it's pointed toward purpose. That's how you stop running in circles and start moving toward freedom. When I was a young man, I spent a lot of time trying to impress people. I wanted my boss to notice my effort, my friends to see my progress, and the world to applaud my hustle. But here's what I eventually learned. Applause fades, Results last. You don't get paid for how long you try. You get paid for what you produce. Recognition might feel good in the moment, but results build freedom for a lifetime. See, most people work for attention. The wealthy work for outcomes. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. If your effort is driven by the need for recognition, you'll only work as hard as someone's watching. But when you work for results, you'll keep going long after the applause stops. Because you understand that success isn't about looking successful. It's about becoming valuable. When I started in business, I used to think time equaled value. If I put in more hours, surely I deserved more pay. But I learned that the world doesn't reward time. It rewards results. Some people can do in 2 hours what others can't do in 2 days. That's because they've learned to measure productivity by outcomes, not effort. So, I changed my question from, how long did I work today, to, what did I create today? And that shift alone transformed my income, my focus, and my confidence. Now, how do you make that shift in your own life? Start by tracking outcomes, not hours. Don't just count the time you spend at work. Count the progress you make. Did you close a deal? Did you learn a new skill? Did you create a system that saves time or increases income? Those are the real measurements of progress. Because while most people are busy filling time, achievers are busy building value. Next, build systems that multiply results. See, repetition without automation is wasted energy. If you're doing the same thing manually over and over again, you're not working smarter, you're working trapped. Find ways to automate, delegate, or streamline repetitive work so you can focus on creativity, learning, and strategy, the things that move you closer to freedom. Wealthy people don't try to do everything themselves. They build structures that let their time compound. And finally, evaluate yourself weekly. Don't just drift from one busy day to the next. Sit down, reflect, and ask, what did I produce this week? What system improved? What value increased? The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. If you get 1% better each week, that's 52% in a year. Imagine the person you'll become if you stay consistent for 5. So, stop chasing recognition. Don't look for validation from others. Let your results validate you. Build a life so productive, so valuable, that your work speaks louder than any applause ever could. Remember, the goal isn't to be noticed, it's to be needed. And when you master that, recognition becomes automatic. When I was younger, I used to believe that the harder I worked, the richer I'd become. I thought success was buried somewhere in long hours, sweat, and pure determination. But after years of running myself into exhaustion, I discovered something powerful. You can't outwork time, but you can outsmart it. Success isn't built by the hardest worker in the room. It's built by the one who builds the smartest systems. Effort might start the engine, but systems keep it running. See, there's only so much of you to go around. You have 24 hours in a day, no more, no less. But a system can work for you while you sleep. Systems multiply your reach, your time, and your energy. They take what you do once and make it repeatable 1,000 times. Most people rely on sweat. Successful people rely on structure. When I began organizing my business, I noticed that I was spending most of my days reacting, responding to emails, managing tasks, putting out fires. I was working in my business, not on it. The problem wasn't my discipline, it was my lack of design. So I started to create systems. I automated my savings, so my money moved before I could spend it. I set up workflows that handled emails and follow-ups automatically. I documented every task I did more than twice, so someone else could eventually take it over. Within a few months, I wasn't working longer, I was working lighter. But the results were multiplying. Here's the truth. Systems don't replace discipline, they amplify it. When you automate your good habits, you remove resistance. You make progress the default. Think about it. If you save automatically every month, you don't have to rely on willpower. If your schedule is systemized, you don't waste energy deciding what to do next. Discipline turns into rhythm, and rhythm turns into freedom. But systems aren't set and forget. They must evolve as you do. Ask yourself, where am I still repeating effort that could be automated? What part of my work can someone or something do better than me? Each time you refine a system, you buy back time. And that time, when reinvested wisely, becomes your greatest asset. Working harder can make you tired. Working smarter can make you rich. But working systematically, that's what makes you free. Build routines that run without your constant effort. Automate the predictable so you can focus on the exceptional. You don't build wealth by doing more. You build wealth by designing processes that let you do less while achieving more. Remember, systems are the silent workers behind every great success story. They never complain, never rest, and never forget. Once you build them right, they serve you for life. The question isn't how much harder you can work, but how many smarter systems you can build, because that's how you turn your effort into empire. When I was young, I made the classic mistake that many ambitious people make. I tried to do everything myself. I thought if I wanted something done right, I had to be the one to do it. I believed independence was strength. But what I eventually learned was this: wealth is not built by doing everything yourself. It's built by learning how to use other people's skills, time, and expertise. You can be good, but you'll never be great until you learn to multiply your efforts through others. See, life rewards leverage. There's only so much one person can do with their 2 hands in 24 hours. But when you learn to combine your vision with other people's talents, suddenly your capacity expands beyond measure. You stop being a worker and you start being a leader. You stop trading time for tasks and you start building systems that grow even when you're not there. That's how the wealthy operate. They don't try to master everything, they master delegation. I remember when I first started managing a small business. I did it all. Sales, bookkeeping, marketing, customer service. I worked 15-hour days, proud that I could handle it all. But the truth was, I wasn't building wealth, I was building exhaustion. One day, a mentor told me, you can either do the work of 100 people, or you can get 100 people to do the work. That hit me like a hammer. So, I started small. I hired someone part-time to handle the tasks that drained my time: calls, paperwork, scheduling. Within weeks, my productivity doubled. Not because I worked harder, but because I worked smarter. Here's what I discovered. When you delegate low-value tasks, you buy back your most valuable asset, time. And when you use that time for strategy, creation, or leadership, your income grows exponentially. Don't just surround yourself with busy people. Surround yourself with capable ones. Build a small, reliable circle of professionals whose skills complement yours. Maybe it's an accountant, a designer, a mentor, or a manager. The key is trust and alignment. You want people who multiply results, not just complete tasks. Now, some people say, but hiring costs money. Yes, it does. But so does doing everything yourself. Every hour you spend doing a $10 job when your time is worth $100 is a $90 loss. Wealthy people understand this. They trade money for time, not the other way around. Because with time, you can create, strategize, and multiply your impact. So, the next time you find yourself buried in work, stop and ask, is this something only I can do? If not, delegate it. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. just wise enough to use the skills of those who are. Remember, the goal isn't to do more, it's to achieve more. And you achieve more when you stop being the engine and start being the architect. When I first started working, I thought the way to earn more was to simply do more. More hours, more effort, more struggle. But I learned that the market doesn't pay you for your effort, it pays you for your value. And your value is determined by one thing: how much you know and how well you apply it. That's why I often say, formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. You see, success begins with what you know and multiplies with how you grow. If you stop learning, you stop earning. The truth is, your income can't outgrow your mind. You can work at the same job for 10 years and still be earning the same amount. Not because the company failed to reward you, but because you stopped increasing your value. The moment your learning slows down, so does your potential for wealth. When I began studying business, I didn't have money to invest, but I had time. So I decided to invest in knowledge. I read 10 pages a day from every book I could find: business, psychology, leadership, communication, philosophy. I began seeing opportunities that were invisible to me before. I started solving problems faster, leading better, and earning more. You see, the more you learn, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the more money you attract. But here's the key. Knowledge alone isn't enough. It's not about reading 100 books. It's about taking one good idea and using it until it changes your results. I used to tell myself, don't just listen to great ideas, put them to work. Every week, I'd pick one new concept, maybe a sales technique, a time management strategy, or a mindset shift, and I'd apply it immediately. Some ideas failed, but others worked beautifully. Over time, those small improvements compounded into massive growth. That's the power of consistent self-education. And you don't need to wait for the perfect opportunity to learn. Today, knowledge is everywhere. In books, podcasts, seminars, and online classes. You can learn from experts who spent decades mastering their craft, all condensed into hours. Attend at least one seminar or course every month, not just to absorb information, but to immerse yourself in environments that stretch your thinking. Because when you change your environment, you change your possibilities. I've met people who earn 10 times more than others in the same field, not because they work 10 times harder, but because they think 10 times better. They've built mental leverage through learning. They use knowledge to turn 1 hour of work into the value of 10. So, don't wish for easier circumstances. Wish for greater understanding. The person you become through constant learning will attract the results you seek. Read, listen, observe, and most importantly, apply. Because every new idea you implement doesn't just increase your income, it increases your freedom. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time doing things that made me feel productive but didn't actually move my life forward. I'd check off lists, stay busy, and convince myself that motion meant progress. But one day, I heard a phrase that changed everything. Don't major in minor things. Most people work hard maintaining what they have. The few who get ahead spend their time multiplying what they can become. See, wealth isn't built by maintaining. Maintenance keeps you where you are. Multipliers take you where you want to go. The difference between the average person and the extraordinary one is focus, not just on working harder, but on working on the right things. You can fill your entire day with small, easy tasks that make you look busy, or you can dedicate your time to the high-impact actions that actually build your freedom. When I started my business, I realized that 80% of my results came from 20% of my efforts. The few key activities, making calls, meeting clients, learning new strategies, and building systems, created almost all of my progress. But like most people, I was spending too much time on the other 80%, small maintenance work that didn't really matter. Once I understood that principle, I made a decision. I was going to double down on the few things that multiplied my results and either delegate or eliminate the rest. The truth is, time is a limited resource. Every hour you spend maintaining something that doesn't grow is an hour you take away from multiplying what could. Wealthy people understand this. They don't chase every opportunity or handle every task. They focus their time, money, and energy where the returns are exponential, learning new skills, building systems, forming partnerships, and investing in scalable assets. So, here's how you apply this to your own life. Take a hard look at your week. List everything you do, big or small. Then ask yourself, which of these activities actually moves me closer to my goals? Which ones generate growth, income, or opportunity? You'll find that only a small percentage truly matters. That's your multiplier zone. Spend more time there, and for the rest, automate it, delegate it, or cut it completely. This shift in focus changed everything for me. Instead of trying to do more, I focused on doing less, better. And the results? My income grew faster, my time became freer, my energy went toward creation, not maintenance. You see, the difference between success and struggle is rarely effort, it's direction. So, don't confuse activity with productivity. Working smarter means identifying the few things that produce the biggest returns and making them your priority. Stop watering weeds and start feeding trees. Because the person who learns to focus on multipliers, not maintenance, will always build a life of growth, freedom, and abundance. When I first began my journey in business, I thought success was all about grinding, long hours, endless effort, and sacrificing sleep just to get ahead. I remember staying late, juggling every little task, thinking that sheer hard work would carry me forward. And for a while, it did. But I quickly realized there was a limit to what I could achieve alone. My energy was finite, my time even more so, and I was reaching a ceiling that hard labor alone could never break. That's when I discovered a fundamental truth. The person who works hardest doesn't always get ahead. The person who works smartest multiplies results far beyond effort. The principle is simple. Work harder on yourself than on your job. Develop your mind, your skills, your systems, and your team. Because when you do, you leverage everything around you. Tools, technology, and people are extensions of your capacity. I learned early that a well-trained assistant could manage tasks in an hour that would take me 3. Automation tools could handle repetitive tasks, leaving me time to strategize and create new opportunities. And when I invested in myself, in learning, mentoring, and skill building, I didn't just improve my own output, I multiplied the productivity of everything connected to me. Leverage doesn't just mean hiring people or buying software. It's creating recurring systems, businesses, income streams, and processes that operate while you sleep. A subscription service, a well-structured sales funnel, or even a disciplined savings and investment plan acts as leverage. They grow wealth, knowledge, and results without additional daily toil. The secret is that your labor should focus on creation, teaching, and planning, while systems and others handle routine execution. You can start today by looking at your tasks and asking which of these can be automated, delegated, or systemized. Then invest in tools or training to make it happen. Teach someone else to do what you've mastered. Use technology to track, manage, and expand your work. Multiply your influence, your reach, and your returns. The difference between those who struggle and those who soar is not more hours, it's smart leverage. Stop trading your life for labor. Begin building structures, teams, and systems that allow your work to echo far beyond the hours you personally invest. Because the ultimate freedom and growth come when your effort is amplified by smart leverage. When I started my career, I noticed something striking. Most people spend their lives trading hours for dollars, measuring success by the size of their paycheck rather than the growth of their assets. I did the same for a while, working as an employee, punching in, and believing that climbing the corporate ladder would eventually bring freedom. But I quickly realized that wages, no matter how high, have a ceiling. You can only trade so many hours, and once those hours are gone, so is your income. That's when I learned a vital lesson. To build real wealth, you must start thinking like an investor, not just an employee. The investor mindset is about creating systems and opportunities that generate profits repeatedly long after the initial effort has been applied. Instead of working for money that disappears the moment it's spent, you work to own something that earns for you continuously. For example, consider creating a passive income stream, maybe a small business, rental property, or even a digital product. At first, it requires effort and investment, but once it's established, it produces returns without daily labor. The real magic is that your work multiplies. One action or decision can produce income over months or years. I remember helping a colleague who built a simple ebook and invested in a basic marketing system. At first, the effort seemed disproportionate, but within months, the book sold consistently, creating revenue without daily input. That's the power of thinking like an investor. Every hour, every dollar, every skill is leveraged to create lasting value. Start today by identifying one opportunity to invest your time, money, or knowledge into a system that pays repeatedly. Reinvest the returns into new, scalable opportunities. Shift your focus from earning a paycheck to owning income-generating assets. Work not just to earn, but to create streams of value that continue to reward you long after the work is done. The difference between surviving and thriving is clear. Employees work for wages. Investors make their work work for them. Build systems, own opportunities, and let profits echo beyond the clock. When I first started learning about personal growth and wealth, I realized a powerful truth. Most people wait for perfection before they act. And that waiting costs them more than mistakes ever could. We tend to measure ourselves against impossible standards, expecting flawless execution before we allow ourselves to move forward. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. What actually builds success is disciplined, consistent action measured over time. Progress, not perfection, is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. I remember early in my career, I kept a simple journal of small wins, calls made, meetings attended, books read. At first, they seemed insignificant, hardly worth noting. But over weeks and months, reviewing these small victories revealed patterns, growth, and momentum I hadn't noticed before. Each small step compounded into significant achievements. The key is to track consistently and celebrate progress, because progress fuels motivation and sharpens focus. Without measurement, it's easy to drift, to feel you're not moving, and to give up entirely. Strategy matters, yes, but strategy without feedback is blind. Every day, take a few minutes to record what worked, what you learned, and how you advanced toward your goals. Review your notes weekly or monthly and adjust course as necessary. This isn't about perfection, it's about creating momentum. Success is rarely a giant leap. It's the sum of small, disciplined steps taken consistently. Remember, every empire begins with small bricks laid daily. Measure your wins, no matter how minor they seem. Celebrate the lessons from mistakes. Adjust and move forward. The compound effect of disciplined progress creates results that perfection alone can never achieve. Focus on progress, and the results will follow. Let me tell you something that many people never fully understand. You can't work every hour of every day, but your money can. Most people think wealth comes from endless toil, from pushing themselves to exhaustion, from believing that the harder they labor, the richer they will become. But the truth is, there's a smarter way to approach it. True wealth isn't about how much energy you expend. It's about how effectively you put your resources, time, knowledge, and yes, money to work. Money, when disciplined and directed wisely, can work for you tirelessly, even while you rest, sleep, or focus on other pursuits. That's the power of financial intelligence. That's the power of letting your capital become your employee. The philosophy is simple. Your money should earn for you, not the other way around. It's the principle behind investing, compounding, and automation. I remember when I first started putting aside even a few dollars each month into a small mutual fund. It wasn't about the immediate return. In fact, I could barely notice it at first. But I knew that if I stayed consistent, that money would grow. And over time, it would begin to work on my behalf, producing more than I could through sheer effort alone. That's compounding at its core. Returns, generating returns. A snowball rolling downhill, picking up size and momentum. The strategy is to automate this process so it happens without constant decision-making or emotional interference. Decide today how much you can commit to investing, even if it's modest, and set it on autopilot. Each month, those dollars should move automatically into investments, stocks, funds, real estate, or other vehicles that have the potential to grow. Automation removes excuses, delays, and the temptation to spend what could be earning. It's not about timing the market or chasing the next hot trend. It's about consistency, discipline, and patience. The magic comes from long-term action, repeated faithfully. Practical steps are straightforward but require commitment. First, set up automatic transfers from your checking to your investment accounts each month. Even small amounts matter because consistency compounds into extraordinary results over years. Second, reinvest every dividend, every interest payment, and every profit. Don't cash it out for short-term satisfaction. Allow it to multiply. The longer you let your returns compound, the more dramatic the growth. And third, focus on long-term consistency rather than short-term excitement. Ignore market noise, resist the urge to react emotionally, and continue to feed your money with disciplined deposits. Over time, those small, repeated actions create a system where your money literally works while you rest. Imagine a life where your capital earns while you sleep, where opportunities to grow aren't limited by your labor, where your wealth grows quietly and steadily in the background, freeing you to focus on health, relationships, and personal growth. That's the real essence of working smarter, not harder. Let me share something that can completely transform the way you think about money. One income is too close to none. Too many people rely on a single paycheck, a single client, or a single business for their financial survival. They trade hours for dollars, and when life throws a curveball, a market shift, a company downsizing, or a personal emergency, they realize that their security was an illusion. The wealthy, on the other hand, don't put all their eggs in one basket. They understand that true financial freedom comes not from how hard you work, but from how many streams of income you create, manage, and multiply. The philosophy is straightforward. Don't rely on one source of money. Build multiple streams that flow into your life, like rivers feeding a reservoir. Each stream has a purpose, a rhythm, and a role in growing your financial independence. The strategy is to diversify, not haphazardly, but intelligently, balancing active income, which requires your effort, with passive income, which works for you even when you rest. Think of it as building a network of financial lifeboats. One might falter, but the others keep you afloat, and collectively they carry you toward wealth. In practical terms, start by committing to create at least one new income stream each year. This doesn't have to be monumental. It could be a side business, a real estate rental, dividends from investments, or a product that you develop and sell online. The important part is action and consistency. Begin small, test ideas, learn the ropes, and grow gradually. Once the first stream generates income, reinvest a portion of those profits into building a second stream. This cycle of reinvestment is what turns ordinary earnings into compounding wealth. Blend active income with passive income. Your active work, your skills, your job, your business produces immediate cash. But your passive income, investments, royalties, rental properties, continues to flow, even when you're not working. Over time, the passive side begins to dominate, freeing your time and expanding your options. I've seen countless people start with a modest job, dedicate a portion of their income to a small rental property or a side venture, and within a few years, those initial efforts multiplied, creating multiple streams that far exceeded their original paycheck. The mindset is just as crucial as the mechanics. You must think in terms of abundance, not scarcity. Each income stream is a tool, a worker, a soldier marching toward your financial freedom. Nurture it, monitor it, and reinvest it wisely. Diversification isn't just a strategy, it's protection, leverage, and opportunity rolled into one. Remember, financial resilience isn't built in a single paycheck. It's built by intentionally creating, managing, and multiplying income streams that flow independently yet work together. Start today. Build one stream, reinforce it, then create another. Over time, you'll discover a network of financial rivers carrying you toward freedom, security, and choice. Let me tell you a truth that too many people overlook. You don't have to be rich to start investing, but you cannot afford to wait to get rich before you start. Far too often, people think that wealth is something you save for later after you've climbed the career ladder or earned a certain salary. That's a dangerous mindset, because time is the most powerful tool an investor can have, and the sooner you start, the more it works in your favor. The philosophy is simple. Begin small, begin consistent, and let assets do the heavy lifting while you continue learning and growing. Each investment is not just a financial decision, it's an education, a teacher that shows you how money works, how markets move, and how patience compounds into freedom. The strategy is to approach every purchase of an asset as a step toward financial independence. Don't focus on short-term gains or trying to time the market perfectly. Instead, look at each dollar you invest as a seed planted in fertile ground. Index funds, real estate, small business ventures, or even dividend-paying stocks are all opportunities to start small and let compounding do its work. Over time, these seeds grow, producing not just returns, but lessons in risk management, patience, and financial discipline. When you view investing this way, even modest amounts become meaningful, and you build confidence in your ability to grow wealth deliberately. In practical terms, commit to a regular investment habit. Choose a percentage of your income each month and allocate it to assets that you understand and trust. Treat each purchase as an ownership opportunity, not a gamble. Study the business or market, watch it evolve, and let your understanding deepen as you observe the growth. Reinvest dividends, rental income, or business profits back into your portfolio to accelerate compounding. Review your results quarterly, not daily, not weekly, but quarterly, to assess what's working, what needs adjustment, and how your assets are performing. Each review is another lesson, another chance to refine your strategy. I've witnessed people start with tiny investments, sometimes just a few $100s, while still working full-time jobs or managing other responsibilities. At first, the growth seems slow, almost imperceptible. But consistency and learning compound faster than impatience or doubt. By the third or fourth year, the returns are not just financial, they are behavioral. You've learned how to choose wisely, how to resist emotion-driven decisions, and how to treat assets as workers that earn for you while you focus on learning, creating, and building more opportunities. This principle transforms wealth building from a guessing game into a habit, a system, and a lifestyle. Don't wait for perfect timing, high salaries, or financial security before you start. Plant your seeds now, nurture them with knowledge, reinvest diligently, and let your assets earn while you learn. In time, those small investments become a foundation of financial independence, a network of cash-flowing assets that work even as you sleep, study, and grow. Start today. Start small, but start. Let me share a principle that separates the truly wealthy from the merely comfortable. You cannot out-earn foolish spending. It doesn't matter how high your income climbs, if your expenses rise faster, your wealth will never grow. The philosophy is simple yet profound. True wealth is not about how much money comes in, but how much you keep and put to work. Too many people focus on making more money, chasing raises, bonuses, and promotions, yet they overlook the silent killer of wealth, unnecessary spending. The key is discipline, not luck, because wealth grows when frugality meets investment. Every dollar you save is a soldier you can deploy into the battlefield of compounding. And every dollar wasted on impulse or vanity steals years of financial freedom from your future self. The strategy is to consciously separate your resources into categories and assign purpose to each. One of the most effective frameworks I've used and taught countless people is the 7-0-1-0-1-0-1-0 rule. Live on 70% of your income to cover your necessary and reasonable lifestyle. Allocate 10% for savings, 10% for investments, and 10% for giving. This structure forces clarity, ensures balance, and allows your money to grow instead of evaporating on transient pleasures. Maintaining a lean lifestyle doesn't mean deprivation, it means intentionality. Every dollar spent must be questioned, does this serve me now or does it serve my future? Over time, this discipline compounds far faster than any high-income job ever could. In practical terms, start by examining every recurring expense. Subscriptions, memberships, impulse purchases, luxury upgrades, they all add up. Ask yourself whether each expense is necessary or simply feeding a habit that doesn't contribute to long-term freedom. Cancel what doesn't serve growth, downgrade what is excessive, and redirect those funds into investments that produce income and equity. You'll be surprised how much capital is hiding in plain sight, trapped in spending habits that feel small individually but are massive collectively. Then, take the savings you've generated and put them to work. Invest in assets that grow over time, dividend stocks, real estate, small businesses, or education that multiplies earning power. Treat every dollar as a worker, not a consumer. Each contribution adds to your future, creates cash flow, and strengthens your financial resilience. Review these allocations monthly. Adjust, reinvest, and repeat. Over the years, disciplined spending combined with consistent investing compounds into security, freedom, and real wealth. I've seen ordinary people with average incomes create extraordinary financial futures simply by controlling expenses, prioritizing investments, and remaining patient. The lesson is timeless. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how you manage it. When you live lean, invest strongly, and give generously, you build a foundation that no economic downturn, market crash, or unexpected expense can easily dismantle. Wealth is not about flash. It's about strategy, consistency, and discipline. Keep your expenses lean, strengthen your investments, and watch as your financial life grows quietly but powerfully. As we draw this conversation to a close, I want you to pause and reflect on one simple truth. Wealth is not created by luck, by long hours alone, or by chasing the next flashy opportunity. Wealth is created by decisions, the daily choices, to act with discipline, to invest wisely, to think long term, and to align your life with principles that multiply value. The difference between those who dream of financial freedom and those who achieve it is not their income, it is their mindset. It is the willingness to delay gratification, to build systems, to make money work for you instead of trading your life for it. You see, success is predictable when you apply the same timeless principles over and over. Every dollar you save, every skill you acquire, every asset you invest in, every system you automate, all of it compounds quietly behind the scenes. And while others are chasing status, you can quietly be building freedom. While they worry about what they cannot control, you can leverage what you can, your time, your knowledge, your discipline, your money. Freedom is the ultimate currency, and it is available to anyone willing to make the choices today that their future self will thank them for. So here is my call to action. Start now. Don't wait for the perfect time, the perfect income, or the perfect opportunity. Examine your spending, identify assets that work, invest in yourself, and commit to consistent action. Write down your goals in clear, measurable terms. Automate your savings, your investments, and your learning. Build your life like a business, where every decision either builds equity, freedom, or skills. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher, who challenge you to grow, and who model the principles you want to live by. Remember, the journey of wealth is not a sprint. It is a patient, deliberate, and disciplined climb. Each small, smart decision adds up over time, transforming ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Your future is being written by the choices you make today. Make those choices intentionally. Work smarter, act wisely, and let your money, time, and effort compound into a life of freedom and purpose.